When you're sponsoring a family member, or for that matter applying for any immigration program in Canada, you might come across a situation wherein you are either missing out on a specific document that is asked for, or the ones that you have does not have the information so clearly laid out. In either of these cases, you might want to provide some explanation that will go along with those documents so that it becomes easier for the immigration officer to understand what you're trying to convey or the problem that you had because of which you were not able to procure certain documents. For example, you were asked to provide your employment history, and one of the jobs that you did at that time was paid out in cash, so you do not have a payslip. So in this case, you would provide a letter of explanation. There might be umpteen number of reasons where you might want to provide this letter. But the problem I have seen applicants face, and we face that too, is to how to write a perfect letter of explanation, because nowhere in the guides provided by IRCC there is a specific template that is recommended. So in this video, I will walk you through the key elements of a good letter, why we had to write one, and I will also show you the one that we had prepared and submitted during our application, and finally how to label and upload them in the online portal. So let's begin. Hi guys, and welcome back to Ole Canada. My name is Ankit. If you are a new or a returning viewer, I hope that you find what you're looking for in this video, and if you do, please hit that like button towards the end, and I promise you the next few minutes that we spend together will not go wasted. And if you relate to the content of this channel or you find it helpful, there is no harm in hitting that subscribe button as well. So let's start with what are the key elements of a good letter. I will also show you the sample that we had prepared when we submitted our application. If you want to jump right away to that section in which I show you the sample, feel free to make use of the time cards on this video. So the first element is every letter needs to be identifiable. That is, it should have the name of the sponsor and the name and date of birth of the principal applicant. Second, provide the name by which the file is labeled when you are uploading it in the portal. As you would know, any supporting document, if it is uploaded in your portal, needs to be labeled to indicate for whom this particular file is uploaded. Give a reference of why you are providing an explanation. From what I think, there could be two reasons for doing that. One, there is a supporting document that is asked for in the document checklist IMM 5533 and you do not have the document, or you cannot even get the document because of certain reasons. The second one could be there is a question that is asked for, let's say in one of the forms IMM 5532, and in that form the placeholder to provide your response is not sufficient enough to completely hold that answer that you want to provide. In this case, you would provide an additional letter along with it. These are the two situations where I came across to provide a letter of explanation. If you have any other additional reasons why you would want to provide one, and if you have provided one, please share that below in the comments so that everyone else can learn from it. And all the aspects that I am talking about will become much more clear when I show you the sample. Fourth, address the letter to the immigration officer or just simply say to whomsoever it may concern. These four elements is just to set the stage of what you are going to explain. So this brings us to the body of the letter. In that, you have to be very specific the names, dates, places, and reference to any other document that you're providing in the entire application package. And finally, try to limit the letter to 1.5 page. There is no mandate for you to do so, but it's just a good practice that if you know that you are going to not exceed by 1 or 1.5, you will be very specific on what you're trying to say instead of just blabbering around and giving some extra set of information which is not relevant. Alright, so now let's talk about why we had to write one, and I will explain it by referring to the sample that we had submitted. The samples that I'm referring in this section is shared as a public URL in the description of this video. So if you want to just download the sample on your systems and then use it as a template to write your own, you can do so as well. But here I will explain the reasons why we had to write one, which will give you a better context of how to draft one by yourself. So let's take the first case. The letter has the same key elements that we just talked about a while ago. So here's the date when the letter was submitted, the name of the individual from whom the letter is being submitted, and I am highlighting that I am the sponsor on the application. Then we have the reference that this particular letter is being submitted in context of IMM 5533 checklist, part B, supporting documents required, section, supporting documents required for sponsor, and in specific to that, there is employment source of income. Now, since there is a reference to the document checklist, let me first open that up and show you what exactly was the information that was asked in there. If you do not know what a document checklist is or from where to get one, you can watch this video that is showing up on the screen. This will give you the answer to those questions. So if I go to the part B, supporting documents required, within that, supporting documents for the sponsor. So here's question number 5, employment and source of income. It states, if you're working in Canada, provide an original letter from the current employer stating your period of employment, salary and regular hours per week, or supporting financial documents if you're self-employed. In my case, I was having a full-time employment. So I reached out to my manager and the HR and I asked for this information. They provided me a hand-signed original letter containing all the information that is asked here except the regular hours per week. somehow the template that they had did not had that information provided. So I reached out to the HR and I said that if there is any way they can modify the template. Unfortunately, they could not do that. So she recommended me that I can make use of the information that is showing up on the pay slips. In my pay slips, I had the regular hours listed. I also had the same employer name and all the information that was matching up. So I decided to write a letter of explanation explaining this particular scenario. So if I show you the example, I addressed this letter to the immigration officer. In the bracket I wrote IRCC and just a regular salutation, dear sir, madam. In context of the current application submitted for sponsoring my wife Ankita as the primary applicant under the family class, I wish to explain part of my employment source of income section. I have secured from my employer original signed copy of my offer letter. It contains all the required information as asked in IMM 5533, so you are giving the reference, but may not clearly state the regular hours per week. For this, I have attached my last 3 pay stubs that states my regular hours, that is 37.5 per week under the column, which is the column that is in the pay slips. It shows that curr.qties. It also states my employment date. I hope and believe above information will be helpful. So this is all that I provided. This gives a very crisp and clear instruction to the immigration officer that there is something missing and he needs to be looking at some other document instead of the actual asked document. As you would know, I had done a paper application, but since September 2022, it is mandatory that you have to apply using the online portal. In the online portal, if you're uploading any supporting documents, you have to rename the file so that it can be easily identified by the immigration officer. The name that you are given to the file, provide that in here as well. So here it states the name of the person for whom this letter is being written, which is the sponsor's name. The letter of explanation is the category or the type of the supporting document and what exactly it is. So just a rough indication is an employment letter. So this was just one example. In our case, we had written 4 letters of explanation. So let me show you the second one. This is the date of birth. I'll explain the context when we reach to the references side. So let's go through the basic information first. So that's the date, the letter when it is submitted, from whom it is being submitted, which is Ankita Bhatt, which is the principal applicant on the file, the date of birth, the reference, that's country specific requirements, India, birth certificate. Now let me explain what exactly this is. If you're doing a sponsorship application, you would have to first know what are the forms and the documents that you have to provide in your application package. Now how do you do that? I have already explained that in detail in one of the earlier videos. You can find in the cards above or in the description box below. So in our case, there was a country specific instruction which stated that if a birth is registered late, include a copy of the original baptism certificate and copies of other original documents establishing identity such as old school records and voter's ID card. Now, as you might have guessed, the date of registration of the birth in my wife's case was quite late than the actual date of birth. So we evaluated the option of going to a government office, having the date rectified and having a new card issued and submitted. But then it was peak COVID period and all government offices were closed. We could not afford to delay any further in submitting the application. So we provided a letter of explanation instead. And in the letter, we explained our situation. So here we had the reference of why we are providing this letter. Then there is date of birth on my voter ID is printed wrong, which is the keyword. Due to COVID-19 pandemic and restricted movements in my hometown, I have not been able to access the government facility that can correct this error. Considering the current situation, I have provided copy of my Aadhaar card, which is a national identity document in India, and PAN card, which is a document issued by the Income Tax Department in India. That reflects my correct date of birth, again stated what exactly the date is, along with other identification documents in my application, and then close the letter. And like I described in the previous case, it is good to provide the name of the file by which it will be uploaded. So here's one thing that you have to take a notice of. Though we were not able to provide the voter ID card, that was the originally asked document, we provided additional set of documents like Aadhaar and PAN card. Why we did that? Because if you go to the checklist and the instructions on the checklist, it will state that if you cannot provide one or more documents required by this checklist, you must provide a detailed written explanation for each missing document. You must also provide any other evidence or documents you have available to satisfy the requirement. So if you follow this instruction, you will be good to go if you have any document missing. And likewise, there were 2 more situations for which we had to provide a letter of explanation. One was proof of contact and the other was proof of social recognition. But I'm pretty confident that if you have followed me till here, you have understood what exactly it takes to write a good letter. So I would not want to bore you with the details, but you can download these letters provided as a link in the description box below. So this brings us to the final section of how you are going to upload these letters in the online portal. So after you sign into the portal, if you scroll way towards the bottom, you will have a section wherein you are going to upload all the supporting documents. Now you have to select the type as letter of explanation and click on upload, locate the files in your system and just upload it. But remember that you are going to provide multiple letter of explanation if you have multiple situations to explain. So if you follow all these instructions, then you're set to write a good letter of explanation. And if you do, your application is going to go smoothly as long as all the information that is asked for is provided. But then in parallel, you have made someone else's life much more easier. And that's not me, because you are still not subscribed to the channel, nor you have liked the video. If you have done that already, thank you so much. But the individual who I am referring to, whose life you have made easier, is the immigration officer, because you have helped them to understand your file better. Alright, so this brings us to the end of this video. Again, my name is Ankit and this is Ole Canada. If you are relating to the content of this channel or the information that we are sharing is helpful to you, please do not forget to leave a comment and let us know what help you have received in this channel, or what you would like to see next. And if you're not subscribed already, please do so by hitting that subscribe button. Not too hard. Until we meet next time, take care. Bye-bye. गला सूख गया।